All right, so what I want to do in this video is look at some of the properties we can use to manipulate CSS classes and just our CSS directly, which we've done a little bit of this already, but I want to really just drill it down here. So we're not using the shopping list UI. We just have we have a paragraph that has a class of card. I have just this background and border, and then a UL that has a class of item list and items, because I wanted to have something that has multiple classes, and then a button that says run. Now we're going to go over events in the next section, but I wanted to have an event, a button click here, because 99% of the time when you're changing classes and changing styles, it's going to be on some kind of event. It's not just when the page loads. You would use CSS to just simply add styles. When you use JavaScript with CSS is when you want to have dynamic functionality. If you click on something, like if you want to display a menu or something on click, like a hamburger menu, that's where you would use these kind of classes and style manipulation. As far as the style sheet, I just changed the font. I have a class of hidden with display none. You'll commonly see this if you want to hide something. Then we have a class of card that just designs this background here with the border, and a class of dark, which will give it a darker background. And I haven't used that yet anywhere in here. So let's jump into the script, and I just want to bring in what we need. So I'm going to bring in the paragraph. So let's say document.querySelector, and we'll select the paragraph. All right, then we're going to, let's copy this down. We're going to grab the item list. So we could either put UL in here, but it's better to target a class or an ID. So let's say item list, and we'll call this item list. And then I also want to get all of the items, so we'll call this items. And then what I'll do is on the item list, I'll call query selector all, and we'll select all of the list items. All right, now as far as the click event goes, I'm going to select the button. So we'll say query selector and select button. Usually you should have some kind of ID because you probably have multiple buttons on your page, but in this case it's fine. And then I'm going to do .onClick. Okay, and again, I'm going to talk about events all in the next section. That's what the next section is based on. So don't worry about it right now if you don't understand it, but we're just going to set the onClick event to run a function called run. And you don't want to put parentheses here because that will automatically execute it. So up here, let's create a function called run. And if I just do a console log here, and then let's open up our console, and if I click it, you should see a 1. All right, now this is where I want to show you the different properties. So the first one is class name. So if I do a console log here of, let's take the item list, and let's say class name, and I click this, it's going to show me all of the class names. Okay, it's just basically gives you a string of all the class names. Now you can set the class name as well. Like I can say item list, and let's say dot class name, and let's say I set it to that dark class. All right, now actually, you know what? I want to use the paragraph for this, so the text. So if I click on run, notice it applies the dark class, and we can check that out right here. But it took the card class away. So this is always going to overwrite whatever classes you have there. So if you do it this way, you need to make sure that you also put the existing classes. So in that case, I could do that, and then that would keep the card class as well. All right, now a better way for dealing with this is to use the classless property, the classless object, which has different methods you can use on it to add and remove classes or even toggle classes. So let's look at class list. All right, now if I were to console log here, let's say item list dot class list. Okay, so I'll click, let me just, we'll comment this stuff out for now. So if I click that, you'll see what we get is it's actually called a DOM token list, which is similar to an array. It's basically an array of our classes. All right, and I could even loop through that. With a DOM token list, you can use methods like for each. So if we say item list dot class list dot for each, and I'll say for each class, then let's do a console.log of that class. So now if let me just comment this one out. So if I click run, now you'll see it's just going to log each class. So you can take each class and do whatever you want with it. In this case, I'm just logging it out. Now to add a class, like let's say we want to do this same thing. We want to add the class of dark, but we also want to keep the class of card. So I could take the text and say dot class list, and then there's an add method that we can use. And I want to add the class of dark. So now if I click that and that runs, you can see it still has the formatting from the card class. It just added the new class of dark. All right, now we also have a remove. So if we do, let's say dot remove, and let's remove the card class, which will take away the padding and the border and stuff. So what happened is it added the dark class and then it removed the card class. So there's no more padding. Now we also have a toggle class, which is very useful. So let's comment that out, and let's say text dot class list, and then we're going to use toggle, and let's toggle the dark class. So this is good if you want to have like a dark light switcher. A lot of websites have those. So if I click on run, it turns dark. If I click it again, it then removes the class. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that. You see this paragraph, click run, and dark gets added. Click it again, it gets removed. So that's something that is very useful when you're creating dynamic websites. Now, I could also do, let's say we want to toggle the hidden class. So what that'll do is when I click it, it goes away. Click it again, it comes back. So pretty cool. Now, there's also a replace class. So if I wanted to do, let's say text.classlist, I don't use this one as much, but it is available. So if we wanted to replace, let's say we want to replace card with dark. So it's going to take in 2 arguments. So if I click, now you can see the card is gone, there's no padding, and the dark class has been applied. So it just replaced it. Now if I want to change the style directly, let's say change style, then we could use the style property, and we've already done this a few times, but let's say we want to take the, I don't know, take the item list, and let's say style, and let's change the line height. Now in normal CSS you would do line dash height, but we can't do that here. So if you have multiple words, we just use camel case. So it would be line height like that. And we'll set that to, let's set it to 3. So now when I click the button, you'll see that the line height is applied. So you can do that with any CSS style or any CSS property. If I wanted to change, let's say I wanted to do something to all of these list items, what I could do is, there's a few ways to do this, but I could loop through these, right? So item list, I'm sorry, not item list, items, which is the query selector all. And let's say for each, actually I'll put some parentheses in here because I want the item and the index. And then for each item, you can do whatever you want. So let's say we want to style the color and set that to red. All right, so now I click that and all the items turn red. And you can target specific ones. Like let's say we want to say if the index is equal to 2, then let's make that item style color. We'll make that one blue. So now if I click it, you'll see that the third item is blue because that's the index of 2. All right, so that's really the basics of just dealing with classes and style in JavaScript.